Is it true that men marry the woman that is in front of them when they are ready to marry? This conversation was on TikTok and few people were saying that's a lie. Men brain don't work like that. They can't just marry who is available when they are ready, yada yada yada. While some are saying yes, it's true. Like, it's really true. You can be with a man for 5 years, can be dating him for 5 years, and the next minute he meets another girl. They will just date for like 6 months. A new girl, they will just date for like 6 months and they will get married. And let me just know what you all think down in the comment section. Let me go ahead and roll the clip for you all to watch. Then we'll come back and talk about it.
Ever since I heard this theory, I cannot get it out of my mind. Men marry the woman in front of them at the time they are ready to get married. Let's talk about it. So I was scrolling through TikTok one day, as we all do, and I came across this photographer. She's obviously been at a lot of weddings, and she observed that the men were marrying the woman in front of them at the time that they were ready to get married, implying that that wasn't necessarily that man's soulmate or that man's love of his life. It was just the girl he was dating at the time he was ready to get married and settle down. Like, when you decide, especially a man, when a man decides that he is financially and emotionally ready for marriage and ready to settle down and ready to start a family, he takes a way different approach to dating. That part in his brain of like, oh, there's another girl out there, shuts off. Because now his focus is on marriage. It's not in finding the next best thing. Are y'all following? Like, do you agree? Do you disagree? I need to know.
Hey, beautiful people. How are you all doing today? It's your girl, Maria David, and I am back again with another interesting video. So what is your take? Do you believe that men marry only when they are ready? They only marry when they are ready, and whatever woman in front of them, they just say, oh yeah, let's get married. Is that what you think? Let me know your thoughts about this down in the comment section. To be honest, this particular video had a lot of stitches. Like, a lot of people were just sharing their opinion. So what I did was I divided this video into two. So I'm going to be posting the first part, then the second part later on today. So different stitches. Okay. So, but let's go ahead and hear what other people has to say. Then at the end of today's stitch, I will still share my opinion. So let's go ahead and watch the stitches together.
Marry the woman in front of them at the time they are ready to get married.
My mom has been talking about this for years, and as a kid, I never understood what she was saying, but as an adult, I fucking get it. She has always been saying it has nothing to do with love half the time. It is proximity and timing. And I learned that the hard way. I was dating a guy many months ago, and we broke it off. He moved. That was the end of it. He ended up getting married, and I thought, okay, well, I guess he loves her, and that's just what that is. 3 years later, he contacted me to say, you know, you were the one that got away. And I said, I don't fucking understand. Like, you had me. And he was like, I wasn't fucking ready. And when I was ready, she was there. We got married, and she was the total wrong one for me. And this isn't about man bashing. We're not sitting here being like, fuck men, like this is just purely what it is. And it's just something that we've had to accept. And that's why even Sex and the City had the yellow cab light theory, was that when a cab light is on and the first girl to get into it gets the guy when he is ready. You could literally be the most incredible and a mind-blowing human being to ever exist. If a guy doesn't want a relationship or just isn't ready, he's not going to see you any differently. And it's enough of that antiquated thinking of, well, if he really wanted you, he would, because that takes the power away from you as well as who you are as a person. It diminishes you, as if there's anything wrong with you that this person couldn't see that. So it's time for us to put ownership on the people that the onus belongs to being, which is the men that are not ready. And that's totally okay if somebody isn't ready. But it's also just being cognizant and understanding that just because an ex that you might have been with ends up getting a girlfriend after doesn't necessarily mean it was a better connection. That just means that they were ready, and that was the person at the proximity and timing that was there for them when it happened.
And marry the woman in front of them at the time they are ready to get married.
So I'm seeing this girl kind of get made fun of because, like, duh, people marry the person that they're dating when they're ready to get married, because before that you weren't ready to get married. Like, duh, right? I don't think that's what she's trying to say. And if she is trying to say that, well, that's kind of dumb. But what I interpreted and what I do believe is that heterosexual men have their entire sexual experiences, and thus, because they're incapable of disconnecting sex from romance, their entire romantic experience is defined by availability. Whereas straight women know that most men will them because men are pigs. So women are then put in a position where they have to decide, what do I want and where and how do I want to settle? Whereas men are like, who will fuck me? Who will let me fuck them? And because they're incapable of disconnecting sex from romance, what ends up happening is you have marriages that were defined by who was available at the time I was ready to commit.
Men marry the woman in front of them at the time they are ready.
Oh my God, I've been saying this forever. I call it their path. Just how women have timelines for when they want to have kids and when they want to get married, so do men, okay? Because the man is the person that proposes, a man will be in a relationship, let's say for 5 years. Let's say that relationship ends, okay? Let's say at the end of that relationship, he's like 34. He feels like he's wasted all of his 20s. The next relationship that he's going to get into, he's going to push marriage because that's the path that he was on with the girl he just broke up with. A lot of men are not marrying the woman that they love. They're marrying the woman that happens to be conveniently placed at the time that they are ready to get married. I was on Hinge a couple of days ago, and this guy was talking about he wanted kids and he wanted married. He also said within the same breath that his relationship just ended. So I knew for a fact he was gonna marry anybody that he was dating because that's where he was at. If you don't realize this, you will marry the wrong person.
Down and ready to start a family, he takes a way different approach to dating.
I say this in the most respectful way, but you go in the comments of that video and you see a lot of hurt women talking about how do men settle, see this is why I don't like men, all men are trash. But at the end of the day, men don't just wake up one day and say, oh, I want to be married. Men give off two types of energy to women. The I just want to be intimate and I want to be in a relationship. I'm sorry, if you aren't getting a relationship out of this man, it's because he doesn't want to be in a relationship with you. 8 times out of 10, a lot of you women try to stay in these situationships hoping that this man decides to change his mind and put you in a relationship. When a man wants to marry a woman, he is going to marry the woman that he wants. We just don't sit up here and settle. Marriage really doesn't benefit us, especially if we make more money. Don't even talk to me about if we have kids in the situation. At the end of the day, ladies, y'all got to understand. He either wants to be with you or he don't.
Marry the woman in front of them at the time they are ready to get married.
This is like the 57th millionth time that I've seen this video on my For You page. We're gonna ignore who your ex decided to marry because it's really not anyone's business. But if you're talking to someone with the intention to get married and they're suddenly like very interested and they're like, yes, like I would marry you, I always ask this question. Always ask this question. Ask them, what is it about me that you like that makes you want to marry me? Don't be cute and flirty about it. Don't be like, this is marriage. This is serious. So talk to them like it's something serious. Just be upfront. Be like, tell me why you decided that I'm the one. And if it's a good enough reason, who cares like who his ex was? Who cares if he was like not ready to commit in his last relationship? You shouldn't be worried about that. You should be making sure that the person that you're committing to is committing for the correct reasons. Or more easily understood, not for the wrong reasons. For me, the wrong reasons would be like, oh, you're hot, or like, I don't know, you're the same ethnicity as me, or, you know, anything that's kind of arbitrary and doesn't involve me at all, really. Also, if he says something like, yeah, well, I'm like, I'm getting old, I need to like settle or something like that, that's like a red flag that he will just kind of accept anybody. To me, I don't want to put myself in that position.
Men marry the woman in front of them at the time they are ready to get.
As a licensed marriage and family therapist, I want to possibly offer a perspective shift when it comes to this theory. So let's say we're thinking in terms of attachment. What the research shows us is that most men have avoidant attachment styles and most women have anxious attachment styles. When we're thinking about marriage, this would mean two things. One, when talking about heterosexual relationships, when women are dating, they're most often going to find avoidant men. And people with avoidant attachment styles typically are averted from big commitments like that, especially if they have yet to work through some of those insecurities behind that. So in general, that means that men have to work through these insecurities and those avoidant tendencies before being ready to make such a big commitment like marriage. Yes, that's super valid, that there's going to be a couple of partners before men work through that avoidance. On the other side of that, let's talk about women being mostly anxious. What people who have anxious attachment styles do is they look for constant validation and security in their relationships. So my point in talking about all of this is that generally most men who are dating women are going to find women who are seeking that validation, that security. And marriage in our culture is often represented as this sign of security and validation. So yes, there are probably quite a few men who are not ready to get married or don't feel like they're ready to get married. But on the other hand, I also think there are a lot of women who probably aren't really ready to get married, but they want that security and that validation, so they're pressing for marriage. I can speak to this even personally. In quite a few of my relationships, I actually believed at the time that I wanted to marry those people. Looking back, I didn't want to marry them. I just didn't know how to be alone, and I wanted the validation of knowing that they wanted to marry me, or that they would. Now that I'm older, I have a better understanding that when I was 22 and when I was 23, I was not ready for marriage. So I really think this goes both ways. Men may be a little more avoidant of marriage, but women also may be pressuring marriage because they want validation rather than actually being ready to spend the rest of their life with this person. Regardless of the reason, I think it's very normal for it to take a couple of relationships for anyone to work out their issues enough to be ready for a lifetime commitment. I don't think that discredits the current relationships that people end up in. People have to grow and have failed relationships in order to be ready for a lifetime commitment.
Men marry the woman in front of them at the time they are ready to get.
No, not all men do that. Some men, real men, marry the woman that stops everything for them. Meaning it could be the wrong day, the wrong time, the wrong financial situation, but they will make it the right day, the right time, and the right financial situation to make it so that that woman ends up with them. I've known many men to be in very long-term relationships, but never really truly envisioned themselves being with that woman forever. My husband was in some long-term relationships before me, 5-6 years long. We dated for a year, got engaged, got married the following year. And one thing always sticks out to me. He says, "You were the only woman I ever envisioned being the mother of my children." When a smart man is envisioning their future, they're not envisioning it with just anyone. They're envisioning it with the right one. Real men don't just settle down with whoever's in front of them. Real men will jump through hoops so they end up with that woman that they envision their life with.
Men marry the woman in front of them at the time they are ready to.
Happy 2023. Go watch that whole video and then come on right back. Welcome back. I have thoughts on this. Do men truly marry the very first person, like the very first person that is available when they are ready to marry? Yes and no. In my opinion, first of all, men and women approach dating completely different. Let's be real for a second. When it comes to selecting partners, men and women have different parameters on how we select our partners. As Jackie Anna once said in a makeup tutorial years back, and it changed my life, women tend to select partners based on potential, who they will become, their earning potential. Would they be a good father? Would they be a good husband? Men, however, see women at face value in that moment. They approach dating like, based on where I am at in this moment, does the woman I am talking to or the women I date, do they make sense for what I'm looking to do? They're more present focused. Women are more future focused. I think the quiet part that needs to be said out loud is that a lot of times in relationships, when men get out of a long-term relationship and then marry the next one, is that in that moment of their life, they looked at that partner of theirs and realized that that wasn't the person that they wanted to move forward to the next life stage with. So that when they were single and they knew marriage was the next step for them, they looked for women with the exact same ideals in that moment of what they were looking for. In the same breath, I think this is also why there's that theory about women that when we break up, we pretty much get over the breakup pretty quickly, because our breakup's more about mourning the life we could have had and the relationship that we could have had instead of what actually was. So personally for me, when it comes to my dating life, I take more of a present focus in selecting a partner And I take these men at face value because it is a trap to fall in love with potential. Also, as women, we need to give ourselves more credit here. We are not marrying men on their timeline. We're marrying men on our timeline if their timeline also aligns. There's no such thing as the right person, wrong time. The right person will be on the right time. If that person doesn't want to get married and you're ready to get married, guess what? That's not the right person for you, because there's no such thing as right person, wrong time.
Settle down and ready to start a family. He takes a way different approach to dating.
People do act differently when they're serious about dating, so let's talk about green flags of someone who is looking for a serious long-term commitment. For one, the dating process is not going to feel pressured. They won't pressure you to be intimate with them, to make a commitment quickly, to spend more time with them. People who are looking for long-term, lasting relationships are actually going to want to get to know you for who you are. They're not going to want to rush that process and end up in another short-term relationship or fling that doesn't work out. In fact, they're going to probably move slower because they are taking their time going through that dating filtering process. Which leads me to my next point. They're not going to make early commitments to you. Someone who is serious and a person of their word is not going to make promises and early commitments to you before they know that they're going to be able to keep that promise. Lastly, they're going to have unprompted self-awareness of their own role in their failed relationships.
Ever since I heard this theory, I cannot get it out of my mind.
So I'm stitching to talk about a stitch of this video addressing what Sabrina Zohar said about this original clip, and she goes on to extrapolate from this theory that men marry who's in proximity to them when they've checked the boxes, and they've got the job and a certain place to live and all that sort of thing. Then they just marry the first woman who's available. And she says, so if the guy you were with marries the next girl, doesn't mean he loved her, they have a connection. She was just there. She was available. And I don't like this kind of thinking. It's very negative. And she says, oh, don't listen to the idea. If he wanted to, he would, because it's so disempowering. No, what's disempowering is to believe in blind chance. Rely on that for the relationship that you need. Men are going to do what they want to do, and the fact that he married the next girl shows he's capable. A lot of women don't want to lean into the power of saying men are responsible for their own actions. It's not circumstances. Men are not dependent on circumstances, because how many men have said, yeah, I was not where I needed to be, met the woman of my dreams, and I leveled the fuck up because I did not want to lose the opportunity to be with her. But the thing is, she's right. Yes, some of the time men do just marry who's in proximity to them or who matches a certain image, or whatever the reason he may have chosen someone who he wasn't madly in love with. The issue with thinking that makes you somehow superior is it leaves you open to emotional manipulation. She brought up Sex in the City. Let's talk about Sex in the City. Carrie fell into an affair with Big because as soon as he marries Natasha, she's obsessed with trying to find out the reason why. Was it because she was taller, younger, prettier, brunetter? What was the magical reason that he chose her and not me, and why wasn't I the one? If you need an explanation for why the guy picked somebody else, that means you're still on the emotional hook, and he can come back to you with any half-assed excuse, and you're open to hearing it, and then you're open to the manipulation, and you're right back in that cycle. And the Miss Zohar says, oh yeah, and then my ex married somebody else. He comes back to me 3 years later and says, oh, you're the one that got away. And she goes down the rabbit hole of that. But I'm like, why was he even able to contact you? Somebody asked me the other day if someone who I'd been close with in the past, if they came back today saying they were sorry and all the right things. I'm like, they couldn't come back because I blocked their number. Like, I have no interest in what he has to say. When you are letting the past have an open door, you will always be beholden. You're always on that hook. So just let that go.
Men marry the woman in front of them at the time they are ready to get.
So I was offered the whole marriage package a few times in my early 20s, and to which I said hell no to. And I never fully had the language for it. And I remember talking to one of my closest friends and just being like, no. He was like, I'll build you a house in the country and, this and that and kids and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, no. But I remember my friend being like, bitch, ain't that the dream? And I was like, no, he didn't ask me. This happened 3 times. And each time, none of them asked me what I wanted. And my theory is this is how, okay, so everybody knows like the ladies who unfortunately get cancer get left by their husbands. And also I saw another story of this girl being like, my ex's dad was the sweetest guy, and he was married to this absolute cruella of a woman. And she asked him like, how did you end up marrying her? Like, you're nothing alike. Like, how did that happen? And he was pretty much like, I needed someone who would be willing to stop their lives to, you know, play a role in mine. So it was nothing about her. This was just someone who could fit into that role, which is why I believe the moment you're not fitting into that role, which is probably mother, maid, slut, if you can't fulfill your role, it's just who can. Just like a job. Most jobs don't care about your actual health or if you're doing well. Can you play this role? Can you do this job or not? If not, next. And that freaked me out that it's like you're willing to make these major decisions without me in mind, who I am and what I actually want. Either you're not listening to the things that I want, or you don't even care to ask, because you know a lot of women just want to be married and a lot of women just settle for that. But I never fully had the language for it. It's like, it was never, I love you and I want to spend my life with you. It's, you look like you'll fit this. You look, I want to come home to this. You just look like the type of woman I want to come home to. Don't care about what I want. Not asking me if that's something that I want. I'll give you this and I'll do that, and I want you to be this and I want you to be that. Bitch, what about me? What about what I want outside of being somebody's wife or, you know, whatever else? No. So watch when they talk about stuff like that. Does it have anything to do with you? When they talk about the plans for, you know, themselves and their marriage, what about that is specific to you? Most times they don't want to marry you. They just want to be married.
And marry the woman in front of them at the time they are ready to get married.
There's a lot of truth to that, and we need to understand men and women are on 2 different timelines. Women are on a clock. They want to pump out a baby before 30. So let's say ideally they prefer to get married at 28. They probably want to be dating that person for at least 2 years to know that they can spend the rest of their life with that person. So that puts them at 26, where they really start that process of finding their soulmate. So with women, there's much more of a sense of urgency to settle down. Men, on the other hand, we can procreate up until like 70 years old. Choosing who you marry is the most important decision you will ever make in your life. Men, before you get married, make sure you're at your best mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially. And for a lot of men, that is right around age 33, 34, 35. Men and women are on 2 different timelines, and unfortunately, biology is not fair. That's why it's so important for us to unprogram ourselves from social conditioning about marriage, soulmates, and all that stuff. Lust often gets mistaken as love, so if you choose the wrong person to marry, that can bring a lot of stress into your life.
All right, if you're here, definitely you're enjoying this video. Don't forget to put your thoughts down in the comment section. Let us know what you think about this video down in the comment section. I am in support of men are ready when they are ready, or men marry whoever woman is available when they are ready. Or you are like, no. They date, and when they see that the woman is ready, or when they see that this is woman of my dreams, or this is woman that will settle to be my wife, they marry. They are 2 different things. But then let me know your thoughts about it down in the comment section. Kindly put down your thoughts and opinion respectfully. Okay, for me, I feel like men marry whoever is available for them to marry when they are ready. See, when a man is ready to marry, I really don't know, like, they don't spend so much time in dating. That is why you see when a man has a job, he has a good job, he's already staying alone, he has left his parents' place, he's in a rented apartment, or he has a car now, you know, he's working, he's earning a good job. people tend to come and meet him and be like, okay, when are you going to get married? Be like, you are ready now to get married. See, this man might be in a relationship with a particular woman for a very long time, and he might just be like, I'm just tired of this lady. I'm just like, he will not marry that girl. Most of them don't marry the girl they've been in a relationship for years. If they eventually marry the girl that they've been in a relationship for years, it's because they are being pressured by family members. But most of them end up like, okay, you know what, let me just meet a new girl, and just, once they just meet the girl and the girl is, it looks like a picture of what they want in that house, like she can cook and clean, most of them just settle for that kind of person. To be honest, that is what most men do. They marry when they want to be ready. They marry when they are ready. So there's nothing you want to do as a woman. There's nothing people will tell you, no, this is what you do to him. He will marry you in a year, in 2 months. This is what you have to do. It's all lies. If a man is not ready, he's not going to commit. He will never commit to you. So if you're trying your best, you are doing everything possible, and he's not committing, then probably he ends up committing with somebody random from nowhere after like dating for 3 or 4 months, and eventually get married. You're not the problem. And that is what people trying to make women feel that, oh, they are the problem, they are the reason why this man doesn't want to get married. I posted a video like this yesterday. So, but then to me, I would just say, yes, it is true. Like she's just speaking truth. They marry when they are ready, and there's nothing wrong with the girl that they were with before when they were not ready. There was nothing wrong with her. They just feel like marrying her, and they were not just ready at that point. And that's what most men do. But then let me know your thoughts about this video down in the comment section. Thank you all so much for sticking around to this point. As I said, I'm going to do a part 2 of this video because there are a lot of stitches on this video, and I want to actually make you all watch the stitches because you enjoy watching stitches. So then I'm going to post the part 2 of this video today. If YouTube allows me, I'll have another stitch on this video because I had to break them down. They were too long, too much. Okay, but then let me know your thoughts about this particular one down in the comment section, and I'll see you all in my next video. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe and all of that good stuff, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.